Won't he do it? Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, he will. Okay. Do it. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Yes, he will. Okay. Yes. Hook a sister up. Hi, Shenise.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm well. I'm well.
So, are you hearing anything in the background?
Do I hear anything in your background?
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay. So let me take this off. Okay. So I asked you to join a little earlier because in case I don't know who's going to join, I really don't. Everyone registered, but
Okay.
just to
No
get
problem.
some type of conversation going because I have it on live. How
Yes. No problem.
are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. It was a pretty good day. Lots of sunshine. Perfect
Yes.
temperature. Great running weather.
Yes, yes. I was out there. I went to get my Wawa drink, added protein and the added zinc and I needed some kind of pick me up. Not so much to do anything. I just love the whole Wawa drink and the whole wellness about it. So I
Yes,
needed to get
taking care of
that.
yourself, right? Like you've learned the importance of it as a business owner. We have to find our little ways. I
Oh
know
my
some of
God.
the things that used to work, it doesn't work anymore with COVID. Like I had to kind of like make some adjustments. Like that doesn't work anymore. So like I totally get it. Like believe
So
it or not,
how is that handling two sons? Really?
well, they're teenagers now, so it's a little different. I think what's managing now is managing my own emotions around like being enough and doing enough and like managing the guilt around like you just can't control everything. Like they're on the screen all day with the Zoom and you want them to be able to go to class, but there is no class outside. So it's really just managing like your own mental health around like, oh my gosh, there's nothing you can really do.
No,
Just
you're
managing
absolutely
to control
right. Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's tough. It's tough, but I think it's well, not think. I know. I hear it from people how the adjustment, they're making the adjustment. You know, God is giving us tremendous peace in the midst of it. And we just got to really hone in and just, you know, absorb that peace and just find what, like you say, find other ways to just have our little moments. That was my moment today.
Oh,
And it felt so good just sitting there and drinking just by myself in the car, like, I got my Wawa
yes.
drink.
Yes, in the car. I know another thing for me has been like I'm a runner, but lately
Yes.
I've been walking because running started to create I still run to keep myself um to keep my endurance, but it's not my self-care anymore. It's almost like a self more of a let me keep my endurance up. But now walking has been different as I'm like looking at the different community members, history signs. I'm like, it's flowers. I'm like, wow, my neighbors have a really beautiful garden and look at that. And I've never seen that before.
Wow.
So that's
Wow.
really been me because I used to like walking was like exhausting for me. Like I would be exhausted walking and not running. So now just being able to manage like by walking and practicing staying in the present moment and like just being here right now, walking has been so good for that. And it's so I don't know, it's so amazing how you just
Can
have
you
to
would you say like that's like a source of kind of, it can even be a source of added meditation or time for meditation with the walking as well?
I believe what it happened for me was my time with God. Like it was my time to actually pause because running, it's a different situation. Like it's just different. Like you're like zoned out. Like I'm calling on like Jesus, give me strength to make it, but it's
Yeah.
not a presence. It's like I had to really be present and I'm talking to God and I'm praying and I'm crying and I'm, being honest with God about my emotions. Like, like I just really miss my people. Like I'm a hugger and um I think it was also I created this thing called hug replacement. I think it was also a hug replacement for me because I could like I would smile at people still under my mask, because I really enjoy like
That's
people
another
and making
thing.
people happy.
How do you make it so personable when there's this masks and all they can see is the eyes up sometimes, if
Yeah,
depending on if you have a hoodie or hat, whatever on. And
yeah.
then sometimes you don't know if they're smiling, if they're, oh, hi, or, before you got that face, you understood that that person is, receiving your presence. But now it's like, is she happy that I'm here? Are they smiling at me? Or I said hi, or,
Mhm,
that's that whole interpersonal. I miss that. I really, really miss that. I'm not a big hugger
mhm,
like you are.
mhm.
However, I do understand what you mean.
Well, what's
So
oh,
it's
sorry.
it's
Mhm.
it's
It's
six oh
fine.
five, and I'm gonna start
Oh,
because whether whomever can join in. So just to introduce yourself, this is our November networking business networking workshop,
mhm.
and we have with us as a special guest tonight. Oh, look! Hi, Lori. Oh, who's this? Sister Wanda? I can't hear. For some reason, you gotta make it your computer. You gotta turn your computer audio on, Sister Wanda. So while she's getting that together, everyone, just to introduce our special guest speaker tonight, and she's here to talk to us about the dark sides of entrepreneurship and business ownership.
Mhm,
There are so many of that
mhm,
presently, with the COVID, with a lot of businesses that are closing down. Um, just recently, within this month, there was protesting, and
mhm.
within this year, we've had several different protesting, which affected the small businesses in a huge way. A lot of them had to shut down, lost their businesses, stores were broken in. So there's a lot of emotional ties to these things. Many owners are dealing with emotional situations, sometimes even dealing with a past situation that reoccurred again. And now what do I do? How do I handle this? So we've got the depression that kicks in, the oppression with dealing with the government and the red tapes and the different gaps and inconsistencies that comes with trying to get help, trying to get grants, trying to work that out. Then we've got the entrepreneurs, the small businesses now who are afraid to move forward, the unknown. And then you've got the ones who are starting the businesses that are coming with the a lot of the drug abuse, emotional ties, past hurts, bitterness, unforgiveness. We can talk and go on and on and on about those dark sides. And a lot of times we don't want to mention it. We just want to pass over it and just have this happy old, let's everybody see the happy sides of the business. But it's important we talk about this and find healing in whatever area that we're in. So I'm going to give you the forum tonight while Sister Wanda is still working on her computer thing.
Listen,
I'm going to give you the forum to, but I'm going to introduce and just tell the people about you. You have a master's in business administration. You have a master's in social services. You are a licensed clinical social worker.
Yeah.
You're also a registered yoga teacher.
Yes.
You are a business owner of the Lifeline Trauma Wellness Services. Did I say that right?
Yes, Lifeline Trauma. Yes. Because I changed the name recently, so I almost have to think like, wait.
Yes. And you wear so many hats.
Yes.
So many hats, Shenise. And so, as an entrepreneur, business owner in itself, can you talk to us first about that? And then we'll hone in on asking some questions through everyone.
Yes. My goodness. So when my sister Beverly talked to me about
oh, they're both of them in here.
Hold on, I think we have to meet someone.
Yeah, we got people coming in now. Hey, Sister Lydia.
The Snap Company. Hi. Okay. I think, can you mute them, Sister Beth? Because I don't think they're mute. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
Okay. All right.
When my sister Bev asked me to come and speak about it, I literally, in the moment, I started having flashbacks about when I started it, right? Like when I started on my own, which was, I can't say that it was by chance. It's okay, love. It was just suddenly, it was so unexpected, right? Like I was looking for a job. When my grant ended as a trauma specialist at the Health Federation of Philadelphia, the place that's really I have to say thank you every time I speak about them, because they're responsible, for helping me develop that specialty and obtaining my LCSW. When that grant ended, I was applying for jobs and I got hired on a spot at the school district of Philadelphia, but they could not pay me what I needed to live, right? So I'm like, I can't take this role. What am I going to do? And many of my clients at Health Federation, they were like, well, Miss Shenise, like, why do you have to stop seeing us? And I'm like, well, they're like, why can't you continue seeing us? And I'm like, wait, why can't I? I was one to always have a side hustle. I always had like a contract over, even with a full-time job. I would write profiles over here. I would see a few clients over here. So I said, you know what, Lord, is this the opportunity to just like be Shenise on wheels and just take this to the streets, literally? And that is actually what happened. When that grant ended, I was literally Shenise on wheels. I would get in my car and work every day, like with my clients that I had, my side hustles. And I thought, and I still had unemployment kind of in a corner, but that ended because I was self-employed. So when that ended, I'm like, okay, like I have to really be out here on my own.
Right.
So what I want to share today is like starting your own business, whether it's planned or whether it's kind of like, out there on the fly, it can be so taxing on the mind and the body and be so stressful, right? Let me read a couple of statistics really quickly just to give you an idea about mental health
Yes. Please
and
do.
business ownership. Okay, so let's just listen to this, right? So 62% of business owners feel depressed once a week. I'm a therapist and
Mm,
I know I had some really rough moments, right? I mean, I
yes.
cried. I'm like, okay, I'm used to direct deposit. That's not happening. I had to actually like pull out my hustler spirit, right? 90% of business startups fail. So here I am out here with these side hustles, and then I'm this therapist with just these consent forms, hoping that people really want to continue to see me, right? Because at the time, I didn't necessarily have a whole lot of confidence. A lot of people had confidence in me, but sometimes we don't see what's inside us before others do. And like
Yeah.
sisters like Bev, who saw some things in me before I did, I was surrounded by that, but everybody doesn't have that,
Yeah.
right? Evidence also shows that 72% of entrepreneurs face two or more mental health conditions, two or more, 72%, right? There's also another study that showed that 50% or more business founders, right, are more likely to have mental health conditions like depression, ADHD, substance abuse disorders, or like to just have suicidal thoughts. And on top of that, 27% of entrepreneurs suffer from anxiety disorder, right? The bottom line is this, like my specialty is trauma. Owning and starting a business can be stressful, right? Produce toxic stress or be downright traumatizing,
Right.
period,
Right.
right? So when we look at trauma, the same thing that's happening to my clients was kind of happening to me. So I had to learn very early on that trauma lens, right, that I taught everybody else to have, I had to have for myself. That there was nothing wrong with me, like that I wasn't a failure, but
Wow.
something was happening to me. Like, okay, so what happened to me? I lost friendships, right?
Yes.
Because I'm not around as much. Like, I am literally, it's not like I can't depend on that direct deposit. If I don't go see this client at 6:30 p.m. at night and y'all are going out, my kids don't eat, right?
That's right.
Right. I also, my rent was late every month, 2 weeks late.
The startups is hard.
Every month. And this really caused a huge, huge strife with relationships I had because I was renting from someone I knew. So every month I had to say, like, I would pay, number one, I would pay a double late fee because I felt so guilty. So here we go. My financial status is affected and a
Mm,
relationship is affected because here I am, like, I know God has me out here. I know I got something special. I don't know what's going on. I had vendors that owed me thousands of dollars. And I'm just out here, Shanice on wheels, hustling. And every 2 weeks, I had to tell my landlord, I'm going to be late, but you'll have it by like the 21st. So rent's due on the 5th. I'm paying rent every month for almost a year and a half on like the 21st. That really hurt some relationships for me. And all I could do was just say, I'm going to pay you double. And that's all I could do. That was really painful for me. And I carried a lot of shame. And if anyone knows anything about shame, that in itself needs to be categorized as a mental health condition. Shame can keep you, depressed and down. And so you can socially isolate and just feel terrible about yourself and create certain internal self dialogue that is not positive or sustainable for growth. So I had to manage that. I lost money, right? Because all money is not money. I had to learn what contracts to say no to. I had to learn. I'm also a SWAN consultant, so I can like write a 30-page report for a child to be adopted, and you have to know what agencies to write for. One agency, I was like, I'm always a trailblazer somewhere. So I was a trailblazer at this agency to make sure that the consultants at least get paid half of their profile when they start writing it. But guess who had to be the martyr for that? Me, because I was the one that they owed thousands of dollars and I had to fight for my money. So here we are. I can write a profile. Children are getting adopted. My name is in courtrooms everywhere. Shenise Henderson. Shenise Henderson. Can write. Shenise Henderson. Is she walks in integrity. Her work is great, but Shenise couldn't feed her kids, right? Because at the same time that I'm managing all of this, I also have to be sure that my name, right, stays
the integrity stays there with
integrity,
your
right?
name.
So
That's important.
I can't, my integrity has to stay. So here I am. I don't want to
Yes.
turn in this report
No matter what.
no matter what. I want to
Yes.
walk away. But here I have
Yes.
this family who's
Mm-hmm.
waiting to adopt a child, and I
Yeah.
still have to write their profile.
Mm-hmm.
I question God. I'm like, so God, you said you won't leave me ashamed. I'm paying my rent every 2 weeks. I had family members contacting me to say, hey, this place is hiring to give me jobs much lower than my credentials. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe that the paper that God gave me to my name is for his glory, like, right? And he opens those doors. But there's something when someone tells you to apply for a job and you have 2 master's degrees, a clinical license, that you could go get a job making some really good money, right?
Preach,
So
preach
I
it.
have people saying, "Hey, here's a job," and I'm
Yes.
like, I have to text them and say, "Love, I'm okay, I'm good," and they're looking like, "Well, y'all ain't looking that good. Y'all look like y'all struggling." And I heard, right, because some gossip, I heard you not paying your bills on time. More shame, right? So what I want to talk about, or I want to want me to pause for a minute, Bev? You want to get some
Let's
questions
do
because you
it.
know I
Because
can
you know I
talk.
was getting on the depth in this, because wait, this is the story. And it's not, hey, it's for most people who like the me,
Mhm.
even Sister Lydia, if you're listening, I know you're on mute. This is it, but Sister Wanda, you are just starting because you've
Oh,
been working with her. She got the entrepreneurs who are most entrepreneurs presently are still working at
mhm,
a job, and they're literally in the process of setting up the business.
mhm,
They're not like the you and me where we're actually been walking this thing out. So
mhm.
in listening to what you're saying, it's like the drawing in because been there, done that. And I start to like, you listen, it is deep.
It's
So
deep.
this is what we need to speak about because I think this is what the entrepreneurs who are going to get to where we are. They
Yes,
need to hear this.
yes.
They, like your mom saying, I'm trying to make sure that you don't make the same mistakes that I made. It's important that these entrepreneurs
Yes,
hear this and
yes.
understand the struggle is real. This is real. Sister Wanda, I don't know if you can unmute your mic and if you can talk, um, ask a question because it seems like you want to ask a question. You can't. Can you type it in on the chat?
Mhm.
Yeah, type it in on the chat and we'll get the Shenise will get it. And
Yeah.
also Lydia, um, is there anything you want to add to it or ask a question that you want to jump in and ask Sister Shenise presently? I don't know if it's possible or if you would like to do that.
Yes, hi ladies. And first and foremost, I'm very sorry. We were watching a movie and we have it real loud. I'm separating myself from that. I would actually wanted to add into what you were saying, Shanice, because I get that too. Having a master's degree and working in a position previously where I was making enough amount of money, but then also being obedient to God and hearing to leave that and to do my own thing, to go after the vision that He's given me. It's very hard.
Mhm.
You're going to have people like you experience your family saying like, "Here's a job, like get a job." Like, go ahead and and
It's amazing
I've gotten
how
that
they mean
so
well,
much.
but they're telling you that. Yeah.
Yes, they're telling you, they mean well, but it's like you're also trying to be obedient to God, and and you're just trying to move things forward, and everyone doesn't understand that. So sometimes it really is a hard place to be in. It really is, just to walk it out, and then also trying to tune out. Okay, well, I have my family and my friends in my ears saying, "Okay, this doesn't look too good. You sure this was God?
Mhm.
What
Right.
are you doing?" So I just wanted to just say that part because I have completely experienced that, and I understand how frustrating that can be as well. But
Yes.
we just go forth, and God does it. Yeah.
I, I really like that, and I want to hone in, Shanice, if you can really talk to us, because there were three things that came to me while you were talking.
Mhm.
One of the things you mentioned, which is a major solution and a major help in the struggles in getting to where we are for success and building our business, is the circle, the inner circle that you were talking
Mhm.
about, having one. If you
Yeah.
can elaborate on that, but
Oh,
also elaborate on that shame, that right there,
yeah.
so important to understand because a lot of us allow our shame and our past,
Mhm.
and it's important for them to know about what God tells us about our shame and
Yeah.
how to move forward. What are some steps? Because it took years for me to get out of that.
Mhm.
I literally only got healed from that last year. And there are some things that I'm still being healed from within the whole shame structure. So I would really like you to talk a little bit about that, uh,
Yes.
those two things, and finding solutions, you know?
Yes. I'm going to conceptualize it in a way that you can kind of take it home and actually do the work. Because sometimes we will talk, but we don't have a tangible, safe. Remember that word safety is so important. Safe way to manage and handle. Again, the word I say is manage, not run away from, not act like it's not there. So shame is going to be a host of many, many different emotions, right? Sadness, frustration, anger, so many things can be attached to that. Those emotions that are attached to being ashamed can make us often feel unsafe, right?
Right.
What I do want to share is that safety, period, is the pillar of all healing, right? When we feel safe, God talks about being safe in his arms. When we feel safe, we're motivated to move. When we feel safe, we can say yes when we mean it and no when we mean it. When we feel safe,
Mm,
we can establish safe boundaries. So in this circumstance where we do feel ashamed and we're starting a business and there's all these challenges, there are four areas of safety that's compromised. If you can just kind of think around this, and this will really help you to check in with yourself and kind of look at like, wait, what area of safety, like what's going on, like what do I feel safe, what's happening, for you to really conceptualize and be able to manage what is going on. So that's physical safety, okay, psychological safety, social safety, and moral safety. Now, when we talk about shame, I'm going to just throw that can go under all the safeties. I'm going to throw that under psychological safety for the moment to just kind of
okay.
look
Okay.
at it. Okay. So let me just say this. God created us to live abundant life. Period. We know that we're Christians, we shout, we dance around it. However, shame leaves us in a state of survival. Period.
Mm,
Okay, we're not living. And what survival is fight, flight, or freeze. So when I'm feeling ashamed, right, I'm either trying to, the tiger in the room is my tiger in the room was that, man, I can't pay my rent. And I got folks looking at me, talking about me, right? So I was either going to fight, flight, or freeze. And to be quite honest, I froze. I socially isolated. Um, I walked in condemnation. I didn't connect with those social connections. So I had a best friend at the time, and I love her. I'll call her name out over and over again. People know how much I love Lena Smith, okay? But
yes.
they know it, but they don't know the backstory. She knew when I started to pull this way, she didn't like let me. She would come by and just put $20 on my counter and walk out the door because she knew, she watched the struggle. She watched me pushing and pulling through, and she knew the call that had on my life, and she believed in me. So when we suffer from psychological safety, that shame tells us inside that we're not good enough. My story just from growing up as a little child, and this is how the past trauma shows up in your business, right? I wasn't good enough. I wasn't going to make it. Imposter syndrome showed up. Like, who do I think should just Shenise Henderson on her own is going to stand? Like, get out of here. So all of that stuff showed up. So now I got the stuff from my past showing up. I got the shame right in my face. And the bottom line, I had to take a look at Shenise. You feel ashamed. Shenise, you feel frustrated. Shenise, you feel upset because the bottom line, shame can't live where you face it. Shame cannot stay where you share those stories and say, I am feeling ashamed. I am feeling sad. I am feeling frustrated. How can I manage this right now? Maybe management will be, it's so cool that I became a yoga teacher at the same time. So
Mm,
managing it was just moving on my yoga mat and breathing, because there was something about I'm a power yoga instructor, so it was like 90 degrees in a room, and like you're in these poses and you're trying to figure out like, why am I on my yoga mat sweating right now, like what in the world is the purpose? But there was something that was symbolic, because on the other side of that fire, on the
Yeah.
other side of it was, there was joy, there was like celebration, there was peace. I made it through to the other side. So I just reminded myself, like, no, if I feel this feeling all the way through and stop running from the fact that I feel shame, I don't socially isolate. I connect with my best friend who's here to help me, and I recognize, let me receive and accept this help, because there is something on the other side. And a testimony to that today is I'll consult for the agency. So the agency that I was at for 4 years, right?
Right.
And that job ended, and I went out. This is a job that is responsible for me becoming a trauma specialist. Saw me on LinkedIn one day, and they were like, "Hey, Shenise, can you come and facilitate some of our trainings?" And I'm like, "Wait, me? My
Right.
my this big agency is calling on me." So now I'm on a faculty there, and then they call me in the other department, the actual department that I work in, to consult, and I make more, much
Wow.
more than I did working 40 hours, 11 hours a week.
Yeah.
Okay. Like I have this 4 times more.
Yeah.
God will see you through to the other side. Now, what if I continue to operate in shame and I didn't acknowledge that my psychological safety is compromised? I feel like less than a woman right now. I feel embarrassed as a mom. How can I like hold my head up and tell people I know that God told me that this is going to work? I know it looks like I'm doing too much, but God, I know you put something in my hands that I got, and it's for me, Lord. Help me to
You're
manage
gonna make
all
me
these
cry
emotions.
tonight, Shenise. You're not gonna make me cry. No, you're not.
How? Like, how can I manage all these emotions? But the thing about it is, the
No.
key was I had to manage. And when you manage, guess what you do? You manage pain and you don't suffer. That's the difference. Like, God allows us to manage the pain to go through, but sitting in it and acting like you're not ashamed can create. Sometimes you see some folks that's just bitter and nasty. People don't know what behavior is communication. Nobody's just bitter and nasty.
Yes.
Okay. No
Yes.
one's just a mean mother in the church. There's some deep rooted pain that needs to be resolved. So what I do, the number one thing I do recommend for new business owners is, number one, look at yourself with the trauma lens. Nothing's wrong with you. Something's happening to you. You're starting a new business, and that's just a whole lot. And also being okay with feeling whatever, and speak
Yes.
and saying, listen, I feel afraid. Lord, I know you said that you haven't given me a spirit of fear, but guess what? You talked about it in the word of God. So I know that this feeling is real. I'm afraid. I am petrified. I have to feed my kids now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
being able to manage that through instead of acting like it's not there. And I promise you, I'm going to stop at this last statement for questions, but as a trauma specialist, I deal with some of the most challenging cases in the city. Rape, sexual abuse. You look on the news, whatever is horrendous, just put my name next to it.
Mm-hmm.
The most difficult cases are people of God.
Yeah.
Because somewhere along the line, we forget that Jesus can handle our emotions because he created us, and we
Yeah.
hide them from him.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pause right there.
No, that's really good. That's really good. Sister Wanda, did you get the comments in?
Yes. Did you see it? Oh, hold on.
Yes.
Yes,
Oh,
thank
I can hear you, so I don't really need the
I
comments.
know.
Oh, yeah. Did you see it?
I saw the
Yeah.
comments. Well, Sister Wanda,
Okay. Yeah.
yeah.
That guilt and that shame and regret becomes also with that fear of the unknowing
Mhm.
on how your path is going to really turn out. But by us trusting in God and being believers, that sustains us.
Mhm.
And for me, it's like, okay, I'm going through a situation now. I had everything as planned, set out, starting this new business of a Christian apparel. Now I'm in, like, I would say, a pickle,
Mhm.
because what I was going on is now had changed, because a person is not dealing with his business the same way that he had as previously when we started out on our contract.
Mm.
And now it's like more money, more money. When I had everything set in motion, how much money I'm going to spend. And then gratefully, I do have a job, but when you are a homeowner, you still have like a budget.
Yeah.
Now everything is in motion. You got everything going, and all of a sudden you're at a standstill. You at a stop, and it's like, what do I do now? Of course, we just came off a fast.
Yeah.
God,
Attacks.
what he has to say,
Things.
right?
Yeah.
And trying to hear what he has to say for me, because right now I'm all in. I'm invested.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to pull out now because this is for my future. This is for my family. This is for my legacy down the line for my family.
Mm-hmm.
Now I felt like I'm at a halt,
Mm-hmm.
but I still have things slowly going in motion. But now I regret, there's no shame there, but of the unknowing that, okay, if I'm going to be able to do business with this person because of the fact that now you done changed up on me, and it's like, what do you do? What I'm like stuck. I'm like, what do you do? You want more money? It's like almost like double the money that what we started out dealing in a contract. And to me, that hurts me.
Mm-hmm.
So
That hurts.
so you're dealing with not just the emotional side of it, you're
Yeah.
dealing with the whole logistics sides of it. So with the logistics side, seeing that you're my client, and we're going to talk about that because we haven't talked in 2 weeks. So you got to call me so we can talk about that.
Anxiety there. It's anxiety that
Yeah,
I'm.
I can hear it.
I
So
want to
now the
produce.
logistics side is stuff we're going to work out. So I want you to just, it's important that you breathe and understand that, remember we spoke about that every step that you take, sometimes there are those seasons where we have to be still and just let God work things out. But in understanding that piece of it, the logistic part of it, the business side of it, call me tomorrow, definitely, and we'll talk. But now, in dealing with the emotional side of it, let's hear what Shenise has to say about that, because it's important that you're going to face a lot of these situations where things are going to come at you, business partners are going to just drop the ball. It's going to happen in business. I can tell you how many times I'm like, oh my God, did this just happen? Oh my God, what am I going to do? How am I going to do it? And literally balled myself up in the closet. Like, I don't know what to do anymore. But you will find a way. Shenise, can you give us some input and tell her some ways emotionally how to deal with this thing? Yeah.
So now your social, oh, yep, Miss Wanda, your social safety is compromised now. And social safety is your ability to trust others. So the first thing that you do want to look at as well is even social safety can go as far back as childhood. Okay. And if anyone as a child, like for example, if you cry, somebody feeds you.
Yeah.
If you are hurt, somebody holds you, if you are laughing, someone laughs along with you. So what you do want to also watch, because what might start happening is you might be even triggered more if you had some issues of social safety from your past that might show up in your present. So the first thing that you're doing correctly, Ms. Wanda, now is being honest about your feelings, like saying, I do feel regret, like I do feel really afraid, I do feel anxious, and right there in the moment acknowledging that. All right. What I want to share about social safety is that all change, even good change, and this change is kind of negative. So, right, for you, you're like, yo, like what, you just changed up. All change is loss, right? And believe it or not, even good change is loss, and it has to be grieved somehow. You're dealing with ambiguous loss, which is harder because the person is still there, and you're trying to figure out like whether you're going to move forward with it. So what you have to figure out, number one, is just acknowledging your emotions and acknowledging the loss. The loss is the fact that you really lost trust in this gentleman or young lady or whoever. You lost trust. That's your loss. How are you going to grieve that? Really, by grieving doesn't always mean crying. It could mean going somewhere and screaming at the top of your lungs, sitting on here and putting words to it. Like, listen, I can't believe you did that. And then finding a way to let go of what was, but you can't do that until you grieve it.
Mhm.
And letting go of what was is something called radical acceptance. And this is one of the hardest concepts. I don't really introduce this to clients until they really learn the art of really grieving and letting go, because you can't practice radical acceptance until you're ready to let go of something. And radical acceptance for me was in my situation when that agency owed me all those thousands of dollars. Shenise, you have 5 referrals left. They owe you all this money. You have to feed your kids. This is what's going on right now. What plans are you going to put in place to knock out those referrals as quickly as you can and exit from this agency? Because it is what it is right now. That's radical acceptance. Managing all the emotions around, like, I can't believe that they broke my trust. The reason why that's important, Miss Wanda, because when you move forward, God is going to connect you with people who are trustworthy. And you don't want to be looking at them from a lens of loss and pain and like, I can't trust you. But what you will be able to do when you practice radical acceptance, you'll be able to identify those folks that come, because there's something that this person did that you'll be able to write down that they did in the future when you really are having awareness around it. There's something that you will never connect with again when you really grieve, let go, and practice radical acceptance. So your radical acceptance right now is, okay, I gotta pay this person real money. I'm going to choose to continue to go forward with this person, which means that I have to also grieve that I got to spend more money. And then I got to take that from the money I make. However, maybe radical acceptance is saying for this first go round, this is like the last one. This is the last go round, but at least you are looking at acknowledging your pain, grieving it, practicing radical acceptance in the moment. But in that, you learn to what? You're going to move forward into a future. Like if I held on to the resentment and bitterness around that agency and I didn't allow myself to grieve, I wouldn't have connected with all these other agencies that are really making me money right now, because I would be so bitter. Like, I ain't never writing again. I ain't writing no more profiles. Do you get what I mean? So right now, this sounds, this Wanda, like, oh gosh, how is this going to help me now? But I promise would promise you that it will, because moving forward, you'll know who to trust. I think I'm going to send Beverly or put it on a page. It's called The Anatomy of Trust by Brene Brown. And Brene Brown breaks down using the word braving. Who are people that we can trust? Like, what are those characteristics that they hold? So, as you're practicing radical acceptance around having to deal with this young lady or man right now, in the future, you're going to be like, wait, they don't have these characteristics. I don't think I'm going there anymore. But you can move forward with the slate of like, God has given me this vision. I'm going to do well. And you're not like just praising God over it. It's something about, like they say, when people say the only way out is through, that's so true. You got to go through it. So this is a terrible experience. It is, but you've acknowledged it. Now you got to grieve it. You are going to let it go, and will move forward into a future that is not based on this terrible, painful situation and past circumstance. It will be the past, and you're going to learn from it. That's the difference. When you grieve, you kind of learn from mistakes as opposed to like sit in this bitterness and resentment and kind of looking at people. You know that emoji with the eyes.
Yes.
So I'm like, yo, I ain't dealing with you. But you don't have to live like that when you just you might have to jump off this live tonight and just cry. You know what I mean? You really might. And just say,
That's
God,
a
this is not fair.
that's a real hard prison to be in that place, and
And you
just
got Bev to help with the other part,
yeah,
like the logistics.
the logistics, yeah, and in planning and in giving you some ways out of the situation, and listening to what Shenise said. Trust me, you'll find your way out. We'll work this out, Sister Wanda. But I already know what you're talking about, so I know who your vendor were, and we will talk about this in depth, and we'll pray about this too.
You just roll right on something else. So social safety is not, you can also maintain and live in social safety. So do you see what just happened? So social safety is your ability to trust, and it might be based on some really painful things. But social safety is also your ability to ask for help because you're worth it. So when I check in and check out with clients, I ask, who can you ask for help when you need it? So now, right? your social safety was compromised. But on the other end, you have access to be able to ask for help because you deserve it, and you're asking Bev for help. So you can maintain and create social safety throughout the span of your business. It isn't just negative. So that was perfect that Bev jumped right in and said, I'm going to help you, right? Because you're not sitting in shame or sitting in bitterness. You're like, yo, I need help. So it goes hand in hand, and it just made its way full circle right here on the live.
Yeah, and
That
yeah,
is it.
that's really good, Shenise. Thank you so much for that. And Sister Wanda, do you have any other question or anything else to add or talk about or mention or questions? No?
I was getting ready to text. I'm not as savvy as you guys are, but I'm trying here.
You're doing
Um,
a good job.
no,
We talked
I
about that. You're doing a
amen
good
to that.
job.
Amen to what you just said, Shanice. The trust is a big issue. You know, when you really, the trust factor is when you do put yourself out there and you believe in, you know, you're going to give this person a chance, you know, a try, or and then it's more of the setback. I think that that's for me, because if I'm moving forward, but then I still have this stagnant here. So do this fast. I'm believing God, you know, and with my midwife over there, we're gonna work this thing out. You know, I believe all things work together for the good according to those who love the Lord. So, but this is really good, and I'm enjoying this. What we're having here tonight. This is really, really good, and it's the dark side. This is the dark side.
Yes. These are the dark side that we're talking about. This is what people don't see. This is where the customers or the clients, they don't really see this side of it. But it's important that as entrepreneurs and small businesses that we understand it and learn how to walk it out. And you know, Shenise is giving us this way. She's just awesome and giving us some stuff. So in moving forward, now that we talk about ways in which, Shenise, you have mentioned some ways in which we can combat the shame. You talk about physical, psychological. What about, I'm curious about the moral.
Man, moral safety. That's
It's
something else.
curious to me. Yeah. What's the moral?
So,
Yes.
moral safety is our right to have our belief system. So on this slide, we're all privileged and blessed to be Christians, right?
Yeah.
And we have the right to practice those values. But moral safety is compromised. I often use this example, and forgive me, it can kind of hit your gut, but I have a lot of clients, right, who experience sexual abuse at the hands of their parents. So if you were supposed to keep me safe, but you violated me sexually and in my body, sexuality is like feels good in my body. That's
Yeah.
moral safety. Like, how do you reconcile that? Like,
Yeah.
that's right. It's almost so
Yeah.
when I talk about these things, and it's sometimes in business, we don't, the reason why I use that example is that sometimes in business, we don't see that all of this is imprinted on our bodies, like our nervous systems, our brains. This is all, there's something called the body keeps a score. So for example, fatigue, right? When we feel
Yeah.
fatigue, that's usually anxiety living in a body. And our mental capacity could be the tendency to blame others, right? Like we might like, why are you blaming everybody? So that's why it's really important to really look at the full body. But moral safety is, let's say that the person, Ms. Wanda, that you're doing business with is a Christian. It's really hard sometimes to grieve that because you kind of expected that person to do the right thing. That's a different type of grief, right? There's also a part where I struggled for a minute in asking God, like, God, why would you have me out here like this? My moral safety was compromised where I loved the Lord, and I felt like He, especially when people that I love started to like turn on me. I one day I felt like everybody just like woke up and was like, I hate Shanice today. It was just like everybody just woke up, and I'm like, oh my God. And I know my struggle is I was a person Thank God for deliverance. And I still have to work on it. I wanted to be liked by everybody. I wanted to
That
be,
people pleasing
just
personality.
like, I just want everybody to be
What?
so that was moral safety too. Like morally, Shanice, like, are you okay with who you are
Yes.
in Christ? Who are you? How can you
Wow.
live in authenticity if all of you, yes, there are people who are hurting you, you have to manage the emotions around that. And that's where I was able to come back into a space of moral safety by sitting down again. My best friend, she would sit with me and she was just like, I just get angry. I get so angry because people do stuff to you, and then you sit here and cry for 3 and 4 days asking God, are you wrong? Or did you do any, are you walking in the
Oh
will of
my
God? Please, you didn't
God.
do anything to
That sounds
anybody.
so familiar.
And she was screaming
Yes.
at me and she was like, Shanice, God is pleased with you. Why? So moral
Yes,
safety is
get
when
delivered.
the people, yes, are supposed, the people that were supposed to keep you safe don't. The people who you thought you couldn't trust, you couldn't. And it's usually when it comes to our faith. And then I'm telling you, in the church, if we were able to recognize this, and this is hard, this is so hard for me. I mean, I had to fight. Isaiah 61 speaks about brokenhearted.
Yeah.
And we think that the brokenhearted are supposed to just look like, I'm so sad. No, brokenhearted also looks like stabbing you in the back. Man, brokenhearted also looks like, girl, she was sleeping with her. Like gossip. Brokenhearted also looks like.
Oh.
So we are trying to compromise moral safety around church people. But if the Lord is drawing the brokenhearted, that's how it looks.
That's how it looks. It doesn't look cute. It
Mm-mm.
doesn't look pretty.
Mm-mm. It doesn't look like I'm just sad and crying. It can look so many different ways. So grief and moral safety can be harder because we really our hearts really expect people to know better. So our grief looks different when the people who are supposed to really keep us safe don't. Um, Moral safety is also, there's something I wrote down. I wanted to make sure I did not. Oh, moral safety is also this: when you have a calling or a purpose and you're starting, like you said, your business is starting for Christian Apparel. Ms. Wanda, you are gorgeous. You have always admired your beauty, right? So you want to walk in authenticity, but someone comes and says, hey, I'll give you an extra $100,000 if you put this on, right? We also want to make sure in our darkest hour, I've had people offer certain business ventures and I had to say, no, that's a lot of money, but God, you told me to do this. That's also moral safety and really walking in authenticity and integrity. And Brene Brown will talk about embraving. Integrity is a part of the anatomy of trust also. Really being what you're supposed to be. I had a friend, and then I'll stop right here so you guys can ask questions. Who the other day I was crying. I'm always crying. Because I believe in feeling the feelings. I'm definitely the crying therapist. And she sent me this message. She was at a random training at Health Federation of Philadelphia, and they had this question. She's sitting at a table full of random people at Health Fed, and the
Yeah.
question said, "Who who do you see perform their job to the fullest potential, and they make it look seamless, and they like walk in integrity?" And she's like, "Shanice, I just had to take a picture of this, and my name was on a list of like 4 people." I cried because I said, God, I had to trust you, but it works. Your name will be in rooms you don't even know what's in. And it wasn't about, the thing that really touched my heart was the integrity that they could say, my name was on a list that says, like, when Shanice does what she says, she comes and she does what she's going to do. And I do a lot in a lot of places, and they know that. And my name was on that list. That's moral safety, really walking in and being authentic, but I had to be authentic to what I was. So that meant crying, that meant losing friends. And these people aren't bad people. Like, I'm not, they were good people. Everybody's just not supposed to go with you, but they didn't understand at the time. And if I had done what they wanted me to do, um, I wouldn't be here. You know, I just wouldn't. But that was the hardest thing, to lose like 20 and 30-year friendships. Like, I literally sat in the presence of God, like, God, I must be the person that's wrong. And he gave me Lena, like, she would just shake me and say, you will not sit here and condemn yourself. You're not doing anything wrong, Shanice. She would literally say, Shanice, you just woke up. Because that season was like a 3-year season. I would wake up.
I have, it's amazing that you say that because, and I always, everything you're saying is like literally,
Yes.
you know, steps that I'm taking as well and understanding. And it's amazing when you hear someone talk and you're like, oh, she's going through the same thing. May not be the same situation, but it's similar and she understands. And we don't understand how much our stories can be similar in the walk that, you know, towards the, but what you just said is very important because for me as a business coach
Mhm.
and having clients,
Mhm.
I thought it was just heads on. Let's just do your business, get your logo, your website, make sure your stuff is structured, and get you out of my, that's what I thought it was going to be. Who knows? It ends up being a huge ministry kind of driven thing. You have your clients who are coming and they're unsure and they're coming from all different angles. But what I love and what you're doing is it's giving me some ideas because as these clients are coming to me, they're also coming to me with, just like Sister Wanda, emotional things, things that they're dealing with. And it's important that as a business coach, I encourage them, be the accountability, but understand that understanding of those things that you're saying to us. And so that I can give them the right answers or refer them to the right people, because this is what happens. And the other thing I wanted to elaborate on, but before I do, Sister Lydia, Sister Wanda, is there any questions that you have for Shenise at this time? We want to keep the time in, you know.
No, I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so no one has questions. So that was really straight cut. It was straight to the point. I love what you talk about how acknowledging yourself, acknowledging the safety, the fear, and the grief. That's like the key to overcoming a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that fatigue, Shenise? That fatigue,
Fatigue.
yes, you were talking about how as a person is fatigued, and we don't think of that as dark sides, but one of the things that you mentioned is in fatigue, the way how people respond when they are fatigued. And a lot of times we don't know that we're fatigued. I've known clients who've gone a year being fatigued and don't understand that they are fatigued. And instead of resting, they find other things to pick up because that's their only way outlet instead of just being still and resting. So I would really like you to talk a little bit about fatigue, knowing when you are fatigued and understanding.
Well, the inability to rest is really a trauma response, right? So, secondary traumatic stress looks just like post-traumatic stress disorder. And what you're talking about there, fatigue, is hypervigilance. It's almost like a stage in your body. You're constantly looking to the left and to the right. So, as a business owner, you know, sometimes resting, not sometimes, all the time when you rest, you got to be present. And when you're present, what do? You got to feel. I don't feel like feeling. I don't really want to feel all of that. And sometimes we think it's conscious and it's not. Our body doesn't want to just rest because then it's got to feel all the anxiety and feel all of these things. So we think we're not fatigued. It's so cool. I love being a yoga teacher because I can kind of touch shoulders and feel it all in your body. And you're like, I'm okay, I'm fine. I'm like, no, secondary traumatic stress. Like you're running all around, your inability to rest, your inability to really calm is a stress response. And my response to that, again, even if I have someone who is like, I also have people who are very resistant to wanting to feel emotions. And the only way that they can kind of hear me is to just say, hey, did God say that we were to survive in him? There is no scripture, none. I mean, I've searched just to make sure there's nothing about surviving in the Lord. It isn't. And survival is fight, flight, freeze. fight, flight, freeze is let's go. Let me do this. Let me do that. It's not rest. It's not abundant life. Like we cannot have abundant life if we don't rest. And
Yeah.
oftentimes what happens is also a response to guilt again. So I've had moments where, I feel guilty because I don't have any money. Like, how dare I rest, right? Like, I gotta go make money, or I don't even know how to rest. So, what I started to learn is people laugh at me, but my self care is not as from day to day. Oftentimes, business owners starting businesses, this is radical acceptance too. Like, we don't take vacations because we don't have the money or the time. So, how do you take care of yourself? Because you recognize you are fatigued, and it does, you have tight shoulders, you your stomach, you have a lot of stomach issues. If you really pause and listen to your breath, you're not breathing, you're not,
Mm.
like, your
Mm.
breath is really breathe is not at a regulation. Your head, I know when I start to get really, really fatigued, my right side all over here, it just literally, I can feel the pressure. And that's when I know, like, oh my gosh, I better go take a quick moment to breathe or something. I had to learn really early because of the way I started and because of my field, especially number one. So here I am, the therapist. They needed a therapist, right? Because I'm dealing with, my specialty is trauma. Here I am teaching people to do self care. So I had to make sure I had it, but I couldn't go on vacation like I told you to go on because I didn't have nobody else to run it. So I had to really learn. My right behind me, right here, this is my desk. My yoga mat is right behind me. There's this person that teaches yoga 10:30 every day. I will see a client from 9:30 to whatever and jump on my yoga mat for their 30 minutes and come right back here and get on the screen. I'm at a place now, finally, 2020 has been a year of blessings for me where I now can actually go places and not feel guilty. Like I can go, and enjoy time. Again, sometimes you see me and Lane posting our little rendezvous, but that was a long time coming. And that also came with something else that happened to me, and I had to learn to manage that. And I have a therapist. I started to feel guilty about money. So I would find myself, I'm looking at my checking account, there's money there, but I was petrified. I'm
Wow.
like, Shanice, wait a minute. I'm looking, I'm like, Lena, I have this money here, but I'm so like I'm
It's
afraid to
good
even look at my
here
checking
kind of
account because I
thing.
was afraid to spend it because I remember when I didn't have money and we didn't have money to eat. So now here I am. I have a stress response around spending money when I have it now,
That's simple.
right? So this would happen too. I would get invoices. I would run to the bank and then I would sit in the car and go on the Bethel app in fear. Now here I'm paying my tithes in fear because I'm like, God, I don't want
Oh
this money. It's like I didn't want the money to disappear.
It's 7 o'clock.
my gosh.
So now here I am. God hasn't given me a spirit of fear. I'm giving my tithes
Wow.
and offering fearful. Like, let me hurry up and pay this because I don't want it to
Wow.
somebody the accounts are overdraft, or I've had my accounts overdrafted. I've come to places where I go to pay my rent. My rent check is missing. And now I'm operating in the space of fear. So again, the same thing I'm telling you, I had to acknowledge it. Shanice, what's going on? I had to actually grieve. So here's a good change. For all change is lost, Shanice. How do you grieve that? Maybe sit and write in a journal like you have money now and you deserve that money because God opened the doors for you. It's okay to go. You're giving your tithes and offerings because that's what the Lord wants you to do. You're not doing anything wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
How shameful, like, let's say if I kept that in, that sounds like what? But I had to be honest. I was petrified to have money now. So that sometimes happiness can be a scary emotion because you're scared for, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm happy now. So that's why I think I'm so,
Accepting the role within itself can be scary.
yes. And the
Accepting who
imposter
you are
syndrome.
and walking in it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome. Again, and then
Yeah.
one thing I do want to share, you're going to constantly have to do your work. This is the first year I became a professor, right? First year at Westchester, master's degree program.
Yeah.
I sat and I'm like, Lord, I'm not smart enough. They come and listen to me talk about. Now I've been all over the city teaching trauma and
still
doing
getting
these trainings, but now I'm
that.
not good enough.
I have not been delivered from that. That is like one of my weak areas where I have people, someone had to actually tell me, Bev, they want to know what you have to say. Do you know that? I'm like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to. So it's, that's an area where I gotta definitely be delivered from in a lot of things that in expressing or giving wisdom and telling people about stuff and wanting people to hear what I have to say. I feel they don't want to hear it. I feel like what I'm saying is just not enough. Then there's the dialect and they're not going to understand. And it's all these emotion and all these things that you tell yourself. And so I had to literally overcome that one day by just getting on the phone and just recording myself and putting it out there. And I'm like, I'm telling my clients to do videos. I'm pushing them to be creative. I'm pushing them to do it and to go out. And I'm seeing them accomplishing that and just, being so motivated by it. And here it is, you are ashamed of this. Why? I had to deal with that. I had to confront that. I had to confront the shame. I had to confront why it is I feel that I didn't have anything to say to anyone or that they don't want to hear what I have to say. So that was like, that was that
imposter syndrome. The imposter syndrome really motivates shame and disconnection once again. And there's something that we learn. This is another thing that's hard for me. So as a yoga teacher, this is thing called self-inquiry, which will take you all the way out of here. You go to them yoga trainings, you're not doing nothing but crying and dealing with your childhood. That's just basically what it is.
Wow.
Then as a therapist, you're in clinical supervision and you're crying and you're dealing with that. You really are. I'm a person that is just, don't want to say scrutinized, but I show up. I don't use the word understand because I don't understand anything. We have the same emotions universally, but we're all different. Right. But I can get and I can connect with the fact that those feelings are real and it takes courage to be vulnerable. And I had to recognize that, okay, I am being selfish if I don't bring the world what I'm supposed to bring the world that God gifted me to bring the world. Like there's someone's deliverance, there's someone's freedom, there's someone attached to what I have to say. Okay, that was hard for me to get. Like I had to really go through I really had to do my self-inquiry around it. And I didn't want to do that. So this is also my I don't even like to give it by invitation to you all. I really believe that every business owner should really have like a therapist or like a really, really good person that can validate their feelings. Like someone who, because nobody can fix it for you or nobody has the answers, but just somebody to listen to you.
Wise counsel.
Yeah, like can I feel, I don't want you to fix it. I don't even need you to, I know the word of God is here. And there's some times where you do need somebody to shake the word of God in you. I don't mean it, but you need to have somebody with wisdom. Because I had some folks to say, now, Shenise, God is real and you need to get your life. Like, I'm not talking about that, but just having moments where you can just share, like, I'm sad, I feel frustrated.
You can be weak without judgment and you throwing the word at me. I want to be just me right now. I need to just let this pour out. And I just need you to be there for me while I pour it out. That's important.
That's so important. That's so important.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a believer, not just because I'm a therapist, but because I'm also a consumer of therapy. Is so liberating and is a space where you can really process and really look at things. Now, again, there are times where I have to manage looking at myself a little bit too much. Again, hence my best friend shaking me and saying, like, you're not going to condemn yourself here. But it's very important to do that because you're not, even though I may do a lot of tears, I am walking in a space of vulnerability, having the courage to do that. So I experience a whole lot of joy. Man, when I'm happy because I have the courage to move through to the other side, right? One emotion really lasts 90 seconds, guys. It's all that other stuff we throw on top of it that we're having these emotional breakdowns. Like, okay, I'm feeling sad. Then sis, feel sad and feel it through to the other side. most of us don't. Right. And I love, Wanda, how you just shared, like, okay, I'm this is all the things that I'm feeling. And I really sense in this Zoom meeting right now that you're going to allow yourself to just feel it all the way through, so that, you know what, you move forward and you have open eyes, and you're going to create safe boundaries to invite the correct people on your team, and God's going to continue to bless your work, the work of your hands. Like, I have no doubt about that. But sometimes you just have to learn in this manner so that you can feel, and then you're going to teach somebody else, right? That their
Yeah.
emotions are okay. Our feelings are okay to have.
Okay.
So yeah.
So it's 7 or 7, and I didn't introduce um, Sister Wanda's business, and so I didn't introduce Sister Lydia's business. So since we didn't do it at the beginning, we're going to do it at the end. So I'm just going to take this time so that they can introduce themselves. Um,
Yes.
so I'm going to start with you, Sister Wanda. Can you tell us about, I'll give you 1 minute. No, I'll give you 2 minutes. I need you
Yes.
to tell me about your business. I need you to tell me about yourself, and what is something that you're going to be, or you intend on learning within this workshop. Because we know we got another one next week coming. So talk to me.
Yes, my name is Wanda Lee, and I am a faith treader. That's my business, and what I do is I am actually I'm promoting God's word. My main thing is on my apparel, I would like to get out there a positive message so that people have the understanding that being encouraged or being lifted or being edified is the way to go today. And we always think about all these things of condemnation or why things are wrong, why things are happening, or bringing down someone. But my apparel is to lift people up. My main goal is when they see my apparel, they'll know they're encouraged. They'll know that they can make that next step. And by being a faith treader, that means you can get through anything. You are more than a conqueror through anything that Christ has for you. So as you on your way or on your endeavor or anything in life, you have to know that you can work this thing out only if you trust and you believe in God. And that's my mission, even as being evangelism on the street, to win souls and to let them know that it's a better way out there than what we've been living. Sometimes we are living in a lifestyle that we don't feel good about, or maybe we might be on addiction or whatever it is. We just want to make sure the people that I encounter or anyone who sees my apparel, that they know that they're loved, and that not only that they're loved, that they can make it. And that's the main thing. And by me being, as Wanda being part of Bethel Deliverance International, I'm part of SPA. I'm a woman in the women's ministry. I'm one of the assistant leaders, and I'm part of I'm the chaplain also for the women. But my main goal is the love that we share for one another, that we continue to keep this thing going. Because like I said, there's so much hate out there. There's so much dysfunction out there. But what we need to do is just encourage each other to be able to know that we can make it. Amen.
Amen,
Amen.
Sister Wanda. Beautiful. Good for you. Did you write that down? I love
No, you
it. You did good. Yay. Told you you're going to do very well. Sister Wanda has been my client since like 3 years now. I started with her
Aw.
from the beginning, and she's doing so well. And a lot of learning curve, but it's okay. You're doing great, Sister Wanda. She had put out her first sneakers, which is like her dream to have her own sneakers. And I'm so proud of her.
Yay.
yes.
It's a challenge, but in a new season, it's always uncomfortable. But we're going to work everything out. God's good. And so, also let's introduce Sister Lydia. Sister Lydia, Snap Code. Hello.
Oh,
Is she there? I don't think I can hear her.
I
Does the
can't
lady hear
hear
your
her.
phone?
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
I sure can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. First and foremost, I wanted to say congratulations to Sister Wanda on your business endeavors. It's so awesome. And this is also a great platform and forum. So thank you, ladies. I got so a little bit about myself. I am Lydia. I am founder and artistic director of organization called Scene in Actions Productions Company, aka known as SNAPCO. We are a nonprofit performing arts and community outreach for youth here in the city of Philadelphia. We've been in existence for, this is our 8th year. Next year will be our 9th year. And so biblically, if you guys know that 8 represents the number of new beginnings. So this year, 2020, has been a new beginning for our organization. I've been operating out of a local recreation center for the past 8 years, and God opened up the door for us to have our own facility. So we literally just cut the ribbon last Saturday, a week from today, last Saturday. And so what I do through this organization is provide dance and theater training to youth through ages 3 to 16. And we also provide we have 2 programs where we have a company program where children can join the organization and they'll perform dance and theater arts. And then we also have an outreach part of our organization where we go out and we teach dance and theater to the at-risk and underserved youth population. I'm also I am a member of Bethel Deliverance Church Northeast with under Pastor Tim. I am also one of the dance ministry leaders there in my ministry. I really have a heart for youth. Just something that God just gave me, and I just really feel like, especially in this season, that I'm purposed to just be there for our youth. I think sometimes as adults we kind of we get caught up in our own lives and we get caught up in everything else that's going on, and then sometimes our children are forgotten about. And so I really do feel the Lord calling me to just be there for our children, especially during this season, being able to provide an outlet, to provide a safe haven for them, and just using the arts to do that. So it's just been a blessed journey. I'm super excited. I'm looking forward to all that God is doing. And thanks for this, Sister Bev, and thank you, Shenise, for all the wisdom that you're imparting. Is just really helpful.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Um,
Wow. You are
yes, this Sister Lydia. I also, she has some. Can you tell us about your, because you're having a cookie sale, or I'm not really sure, for a fundraiser coming up, or
Yes. Yeah.
yes,
So we
you
actually just
talk
ended
about
it
that a little bit?
today.
Yes.
Can you guys hear me?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. So we just ladies, we just ended it today, but we were doing a cupcake fundraiser for the organization. But we do have a GoFundMe out there. If anyone would like to donate, it's under SNAPCO. You can search it in the GoFundMe, SNAPCO New Home. And it's just to help raise money for our new facility, and some of the things that we need to get as far as mirrors on the walls and other furniture and equipment for our new home.
Oh, wow.
Okay. Nice. Yes.
So
Thank
good.
you, ladies.
So, anyone out there in the Facebook world, if you are here listening, and you're looking for a place to really plant a seed or donate to, Snapco is a wonderful organization. She gives back to the community. She helps children. She really nurtures, and she puts a lot into their lives. And we need people like Snapco in our community. We really do. And I have seen this girl go from when she first started day one to now. And I am so proud of her. I am so proud of you and all that you're doing for the community, and even in spreading God's word to the children. To
Thank you.
children, that's like, that's the seed right there, because they're
Yes.
growing with whatever influence that you have put into their lives. And we need more people like you.
Thank
Um,
you.
so that's great and awesome. So thank you so much, Sister Lydia and Sister Wanda, for being a part of this, the workshop. We have another workshop next week. That's the last one. Shenise, there's a part 2 in this, where we're going to be talking a little bit more about the drug abuse and the depression. Those are the 2 things we're going to really be diving into even more next week. And I really want to see if we can get some questions ahead of time, Shenise.
Yes.
And we would be able to elaborate on those questions. So as people are listening, they'll actually have the response during the workshop and not after. So, and just to introduce, as far as for this networking session, business session, it is sponsored by BSF Design. I am the owner of BSF Design, as well as the business coach / consultant. Sister Wanda tells me the midwife. I tell her I'm the midwife. They birthing.
Yeah.
Y'all birthing these babies. I'm gonna help y'all birth them out. And so it's important. So she calls me midwife. That's our little secret little inside joke. But yes. And if you would like to learn more about BSF Design and about the monthly networking sessions and workshops that we have, or interview with the experts and such, you can always visit our website, www.bsfdesign.com, or you can email us at info@bsfdesignllc.com. Our phone number, 279-9348. So you can always check us out on the website, send instant messengers, check me out on Instagram, Facebook. If you're in need of a business coach or someone, or if you just want to ask any more questions based on this workshop tonight, you want to reach out to me, or you want information about Shenise. As a matter of fact, Shenise, do you want to tell them how to get in touch with you if they're interested in finding out some more information about the traumas and such?
Yes, you can actually email me. I can type that in the inbox at lifeline.lit@gmail.com, or you can check out my Facebook page, Lifeline Trauma and Wellness Services, and my phone number is there, and you can contact me and reach out about how to either be connected with a therapist or connected with me. Well, thank you.
Yes. Okay, awesome. Is there an email or a phone number that they can call you at? It's all on the
Yes,
the Facebook
yes.
page? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, good, nice. Thank you so much, Shenise, and thank you tonight for everything and all of the information, the wealth of information. To summarize, we went through the shame and the failure, we went through fatigue, and we talk about the different ways we can pinpoint these stress points, which is physically, psychologically, morally, and we didn't touch on socially, but we'll touch on that next week as well, right? Because I'm curious to know the whole social aspect of that. And if anyone out there would like to know and get some information, please get in touch with Shenise. She is the trauma specialist, the yoga teacher, and she'll be able to answer those questions. I don't come to me about that. That will be referred to Shenise. But it was such a pleasure having you. And Sister Wanda, thank you again. And Sister Lydia, and this is it for tonight. Is there any questions before we get off the live and the?
I'm gonna remember that: flight, fight, or freeze.
Yes, that's right. Right. Yes, Sister Wanda. Come on. Yes, we're living abundant life. We're not surviving. We're living abundant life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, yes,
Thank
yes.
you so much.
Thank you, ladies. You're awesome. And I
Yeah.
have to, Sister Wanda, I need to get to your website so I can get some apparel, and I will be going to Snapco. What's the website to be able to give, Sister Lydia? The
So
snapco.com.
give us some information.
Yes, so it's under the GoFundMe, and I'll share it on the page as
The page.
well.
Okay.
The GoFundMe, yep. And then we do have a website, snapcompany.org.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm
Thank
excited.
you.
You're going to help so many of my clients. I appreciate it.
Yes. And
Thank
see,
you.
this is what this is all about too. This is
Yes.
what
Yes,
people.
Networking.
Today, this networking, this is
Yes.
deep.
it
Yes.
is.
It is so important to me that as I talk with people, I can network and connect them with other entrepreneurs and small businesses. So we all help each other grow. Iron sharpening.
Yeah.
So that's important. So everyone have a blessed night, and I enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you again. Be blessed.
Be blessed. Good night.
Bye.